Okay, Monday morning's show, and here we are, kicking you off for a brand new week. No prizes for guessing what's going to dominate proceedings today. Tomorrow night, Celtic take on Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena. Mission impossible. Can we do it? Who knows? Possibly, probably not. All of those things are going to be discussed between now and kick-off. But yeah, we're rapidly approaching this game. I feel like the first leg, there was like so much build up to it. Okay, not the months and months of build up we'd have had in previous years before the format changed, but it certainly seemed like we had a good few weeks to like properly analyse how the game could go. And then suddenly, tomorrow night, we're here for the second leg, and I feel like no one's really discussed it too much. So we're going to try and change that today. Yes, and Callum McGregor reckons that it is possible tomorrow night, but he does think we'll have to make it a huge night to have any chance of progressing to the last 16. He was asked whether we'll have to play better than we ever have when he's been in the side. And he said, yeah, I think so. I think we have to max out in terms of performance level, and there's no reason why we can't. Having seen what we've seen in the first game, we need a bit of luck and we need to be really good on the night, but we just go and we leave nothing on the pitch and see where we go from there. The last 25 minutes gave us a good template for the game. I genuinely feel that if you'd played that game 9 other times out of 10, then we might have actually got something from it, because the performance and the details of the game were all there and we were unlucky. Yes, we did have moments in the game at Celtic Park. Again, sounding a bit like Philippe Clement, but our XG was higher than Bayern's, which I guess tells you something about the quality of chances we created. I don't think we should forget the fact that Bayern did dominate probably 75-80% of the match as well in terms of possession, and I think that is likely to be the case tomorrow night. For me, like it's all about two things tomorrow night, mainly the start we make to the game. This team, as much as they are clearly growing at Champions League level, the top level, and no one can really deny that, I do still think they do have a habit of getting off to bad starts away from home against the real top sides. You look at like the last couple of seasons, the really top sides have played away from home. Atletico Madrid, we lose a goal in the 6th minute, I think Antoine Griezmann. We had Dortmund, where we lose a goal after 7 minutes and then equalise and lose another goal after 10 or 11. And Aston Villa, obviously we're 2-0 behind after goals in the 3rd and 5th minutes. Atalanta's the real outlier there in terms of when we've gone away to these real elite sides. That was a great defensive performance that night, and we're going to have to see something similar tomorrow, but with a bit more quality going forward. I think if we can come through the early stages of the game tomorrow night, first 15-20 minutes strong with a clean sheet, maybe grow in confidence and get a bit of a footing in the game, possibly have their fans just getting a little bit edgy with all the expectation on Bayern to win the game and win the game well tomorrow night, then possibly, as I say, we can grow into it. And I think we will create chances. I mean, we're a very capable team at any level of creating chances, and we saw that last week that Bayern they do take a bit of a chance at times, Bayern, both with and without the ball. So I think we can capitalise on that tomorrow. But it is all about like the start for me. Like, do not be 1-0, 2-0 behind inside 10 minutes and have the tie just completely over. That is, if I'm totally honest, a bit of a fear I've got tomorrow night. I don't think I'll be the only one either. And like conceding goals in batches as well, that's something we have still seen with this Celtic team. So basically they need to do a bit of learning tomorrow night, but I think we all think they're a pretty special team. Hopefully they can show it. Brendan Rodgers has been speaking about the game as well. He says, whatever happens on Tuesday, the guys can be really proud of what they've achieved and can look to build on that. We always want to keep our boldness, but our humility is important as well. We understand the size of the task, but we want to go and give the best we possibly can. We're in a really good place. I think it's an exciting challenge for us in Munich and a big opportunity for us. Now, Brendan Rodgers is speaking a bit about boldness, but also, maintaining our humility or whatever he said. I think that's his way of saying, like, we have to believe in ourselves that we can go and do it, but also like let's not play like we did in Dortmund, and like go gung-ho and basically just be so open to them attacking. It needs to be a balance tomorrow night of that Atalanta defensive performance, really organised. Yes, the opposition are going to create chances. Atalanta, Bayern, I think, are even a step up from Atalanta, and they're pretty good. So you're going to have to, be under the cosh. Kasper Schmeichel's going to have to make saves tomorrow night, but just be organised. But then when you get the ball, show that belief. And it did bring me back to, it just reminded me, I always remember, like, for some reason, I remember Gordon Strachan speaking ahead of the second leg we had against AC Milan at the San Siro at the last 16 in 2007. Again, I was like 11 years old at the time. I don't know why it always sticks with me, but I always remember him. I think he said a phrase like, fortune favours the brave, and that was basically his message. Was in the first leg, we'd drawn at Celtic Park 0-0. It had been okay, but that the team really had to go and believe in themselves at the San Siro. And it feels similar to me tomorrow night. I'm not saying that the team didn't believe they could beat Bayern on last Wednesday. It didn't feel like we were like overawed by the occasion or even nervous. I don't think a nervous team scores such a good goal that was obviously disallowed for an offside, but it was a really well worked goal inside the first half a minute. If they're feeling overawed by the occasion, like we looked confident, I just felt maybe just a little bit more belief and a feeling when you get the ball to go and make something happen rather than maybe waiting for something to happen or hoping something will happen. So I think tomorrow night we really need to see that. It's a hell of a lot to ask of this team, but that's what we're up against. We're up against one of the elite European teams away from home, and we trail in the tie. Some would call it an impossible task. I genuinely don't believe it is, but they do need to be strong defensively, and then when we get the ball, we need to show belief to get players forward and obviously take any chances that come our way. By the way, just to underline how tough a task it is tomorrow night, we do have to win the game to have any chance of going through. Obviously, a 1-goal victory takes it to extra time, 2-goal victory and we're through. Nice and easy. Bayern haven't lost in Munich in the UEFA Champions League since April 2021, and that's a run of 20 games all in. It includes Man City visiting them the year Man City won the Champions League. It includes Real Madrid visiting them the year they won the Champions League. So they're pretty formidable in this tournament at home. But just imagine we do it. Now, the other thing I want to talk about today is that, and you may or may not be aware of this, but there is a new broadcaster entering the Celtic picture tomorrow night. Now, up until now, and in fact over certainly the past decade or so, our Champions League or even just European matches generally have been on one channel. It was like BT Sport originally, and for the past 3 or 4 years, when they changed to TNT Sports, it's there that all our European games have been played. But it's different tomorrow night because Amazon Prime also hold the rights to one Champions League game every week. It's like the headline, the best fixture on a Tuesday night. And tomorrow night they've gone for Bayern Munich versus Celtic. So we're going to be on Amazon Prime for the first time. Pretty sure we're the first Scottish team to be on that channel. I believe actually that, and you'll need to double check this, obviously I'm out the country. But I believe they do have like a 3-month trial you can get, which will mean you'll be able to get the game tomorrow night on Amazon Prime and then cancel the free trial without having to pay anything. So do check that out if you're looking for somewhere to watch the game tomorrow. But yeah, we're on Amazon Prime, and it's going to be interesting, I guess. I've never actually watched their coverage. I don't really know who's hosting or anything like that. But something a little bit different tomorrow night. It might just feel slightly different to what we've become used to with TNT Sports. As part of their build-up, they've conducted an interview with Brendan Rodgers at Lennoxtown, which also included Martin O'Neill. This is kind of interesting, the first time Martin O'Neill has ever been to Lennoxtown since it was finished in, was it like 2007 or 2008? He did say he'd visited there when it was kind of in its embryonic stage, I think when he was still at the club in early 2005, but he's never been to Lennoxtown. as we know it. So yeah, this went up late Sunday night, so there's a fair chance you won't have come across it yet. It's a 20-minute chat which features Martin O'Neill walking around Lennoxtown talking to the host Alex Aljo. The main portion of it though is those two and Brendan Rodgers sitting in Brendan's office, which is sadly a blurred out background, which means that we can't read his team for Tuesday or see what any of the motivational posters around his office say. Anyway, I really enjoyed this interview. Definitely check it out. There is a slightly awkwardish moment, that you may have seen clipped online when Martin O'Neill asks Brendan Rodgers about returning to the club and how he's found it second time round. And Brendan Rodgers says about him leaving in early 2019, probably in my own mind, it was football. Maybe I'd taken Celtic as far as I could. And Martin O'Neill jumps in. He goes, "No, you just wanted to leave, young man." Now, I must say it's very kind of like light-hearted in a way. Like they're all laughing. It's not like it was genuinely awkward. But the host then says, "You can continue that conversation off camera." So yeah, a slightly jarring moment, I must say. But I think it's typical Martin O'Neill, isn't it? Like we know he doesn't really care who he's around. He'll say how he feels, and that's what we all really like about him. Brendan Rodgers actually then went on to give a pretty interesting answer, I thought, on maybe why he left the club. And I should say, I know, like, why the hell on Monday the 17th of February when we're playing Bayern Munich tomorrow are we talking about Brendan Rodgers leaving the club like 5 years ago? I guess it goes back to what I was saying about Amazon Prime and the fact this is their first Celtic game, and generally they'll be catering for a largely non-Celtic viewership tomorrow night, and it's kind of like, oh, Brendan Rodgers back for a second spell, how's it going? I guess that's an easy topic for them to cover. So they did spend a lot of time in this, but it did allow Brendan Rodgers to speak, and he basically said that it was like his football mind versus his kind of emotions. And he said that he did regret leaving the club. He didn't realise it would cause so much hurt, but he says he should have realised that. So he was quite honest about it. Said, and this bit I did find interesting, said he's more relaxed second time at the club. Possibly when he was at the club first time, he says he had unrealistic expectations for what Celtic could be and what Celtic could do. I don't know what those were, if he wanted to win a European trophy with us or something like that. But second time round, he says he understands the club a bit better, our finances, possible limitations, which maybe explains why generally he isn't maybe getting as worked up about transfers, and there's been no Terminado chat and all of that stuff. He said Glasgow's his favourite city as well. So yeah, that was all well and good. Definitely, as I say, would recommend it. It was interesting insight. Martin O'Neill kind of spoke a bit about his time at the club as well, and it's a good 22 minute clip on YouTube as well. I'll link it above if I can, so you can check that out if you're watching on YouTube. But it just sets up the game for tomorrow night pretty well. It is going to be chilly in Munich. I know some people had been forecasting -10 and stuff like that. I believe that's a little bit excessive. I think we're looking at around -3 come kickoff at the moment, which admittedly is still pretty cold, which is going to be interesting. But Celtic, we're going to have a huge support there. I think I read somewhere 5,000 Celtic fans heading over to Munich. We're going to be allowed into the stadium as well. So, yep, it's all set up for a big night, and who knows, maybe one of the most famous nights in our history, which it certainly would be if we managed to do the unthinkable and eliminate Bayern. One last wee thing I did notice online that made me laugh, and this is from Transfer Mark, who I use from time to time, and it's income from player sales in the Scottish Premiership, so domestically this season. Number one, Celtic, 12.8 million euro. You then have Aberdeen in second, way down in 6.5 million. That would be pretty much all made up from Bojan Miovski. Where are Rangers, you ask? Yeah, fourth they are. Hearts are fifth. Third place, Celtic reserves, who have actually made more money than Rangers from transfers this season. I assume that's Bosun Lawal and Daniel Kelly that we're talking about there. So, Yep, that's how we're going to finish today. Things are good, everyone. We're building ahead tomorrow night. I really appreciate you watching this. We are still going for 13,000 subscribers, so it would be remiss of me not to mention that as we head forward. I'll be back early tomorrow just to recap the press conferences from later today. I'll do my predicted 11 referees and try and get you all up and believing that something can happen tomorrow night. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.